We have Ronny Kanalelo, who needs absolutely no introduction to Namibians who love their football. He's a former Brave Warriors goalkeeper and international footballer, who competed with the likes of John Klale from South Africa, Rafael Chukwu from Nigeria, the best squad of Mamelodi Sundowns, in my opinion, in 1998 to 2005. And he represented Namibia as a player from 91 to 99, earning 53 caps, and is, without a shadow of doubt, the finest goalkeepers in Namibian football history, not just of his generation, I think of all time. And we have the absolute pleasure of welcoming Ronny to the kingdom. Good morning, Ronny.
Good morning, Hishi.
How's it going?
What in the introduction?
Yeah, no, we had to, it's not every day you come across someone from the team that really put Namibia as a footballing nation on the map. We're going to get to that 98 team in a minute. But let's just go back a bit. Let's describe the experience you had transitioning from playing in Namibia to playing in the South African League in your heydays as a player. How was it? How was that transition?
Look, those are things that happen all the time. Anyway, when clubs are looking for coaches, they always go back to player that they know, ex-player that they know, and I was lucky that my name was still, in their data, and when the opportunity came, I just took it, because I always looked for those opportunities. That's the only way you can grow. Coming from a small setup, that is not really well structured. You want to be in environments where you can learn, or stay up to date with the modern game.
Now, just going back to when you were younger, in your very early football days, you hear of goalkeepers saying they used to be a striker, they used to be an outfield player. Was there ever a time where Ronny Kanalelo did not play in goal?
Yes, on the streets.
Yeah.
Sometimes we play that 1 against 1, 2 against 2 type of games,
Yeah.
But I always, when we play 7v7 or 5v5, I always prefer to be in goals. I was made to be a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
I can truly see, my playing days on the streets, wearing my blue tracksuit pants, with my school shoes, with those long laces tied around my ankles, so I was made out to be a goalkeeper.
Yeah, from the very beginning. Now, what would you say, what was the best thing about playing outside Namibia at that particular time?
Look, I used to tell my friends all the time that I'll become one of the best goalkeepers, and my aim is to go higher, and yes, the national team was obviously the highest, playing international football, but when the opportunity came, to join Sundowns, that was always my dream to play, in South Africa.
And are you still a Sundown supporter to this day?
Yeah, I mean, it's been my first and last professional team that I played for. So they still they actually
your club.
My club. Yes.
That's good to hear, because it's also mine. So we're just finding common ground. I share a common interest with Ronny Kanalelo. I'm happy with that. What would you say, or rather, would you say that the Brave Warriors class of '98 was the best team? Because these are debates that go around in schools, in pubs, which Brave Warriors team performed the best, was the best. We're going with the classic '98. We go with the recent AFCON team as well. You have coached some of the other teams as well. Well, in your opinion, which one? What are the differences, the major differences between the different generations of Namibian football?
Football changes all the time. the class of '99
Mm-hmm.
come from pre-independence,
Mhm.
I should say, yeah, pre-independence.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at how the structures were,
Mhm.
you know, then coming from street football into school football,
Mhm.
joining a club and playing their reserve league, the reserve team,
Mhm.
and eventually graduate to the first team.
Mhm.
You know, I don't know whether you have seen pictures of me circulating, you know, when I was still a tiny
boy.
you
We
know,
saw the pictures.
16, 17 years old, you know, among the best talent,
Mhm.
you know, of this 70s.
Mhm.
You know, and you know, you're talking about guys that were born in the late 50s.
Yeah.
You know, and here's a young boy at 16. You know,
Giving them pressure.
you know, sharing the platform. You
Yeah.
know, and that's where we started. You know, when you talk about your Manetis now, you know, I met Maneti. I think in 89, when he was still probably 14, you know, 14, playing for the Commerce regional team, you know, and we coming from an era where school sport was very popular and strong. You know, if sometimes I look at school sport nowadays and I'm like, these ones
Yeah.
probably walk in there and came out
Yeah.
17, 18, 19 easily. You know, that's how that's how the quality has actually come down. But
Yeah.
it all comes down to the playing experience. You know, nowadays you don't see players on the streets anymore. You know, because it's no longer safe. There's too many cars on the streets. Playing spaces are occupied by construction. You know, and stuff. So yeah, so you can't really compare. You know, the different eras of the national team, because the class of 2008 didn't have the same experience
as you guys,
as us.
Yeah.
And the class of '99 had a mixture of young players and older guys. You know, you look at your Koraset, your Manetis, your Hinjos, your Oseps. You know, their development, you know, started really being groomed for the national team. Started with Peter Ubeam, you know, during 91, 92, when these guys started touring Germany, touring Sweden, playing in these Gothia Cups and stuff. So it was a process. It was a process. So it was not by luck that we actually qualified.
Yeah.
You know, in my opinion, we did very well during the qualifiers.
Yeah.
You know, and then the class of 2008 was totally a different setup. You know, school sport was a little bit there, but not really. They took us 10 years to qualify again after 1998, but the process was not the same. It was more haphazard. You know, we had too many problems that are still there today. You know, and coming back, you know, or adding up to it, 2018, you know, the class of 2018, it was also not by luck.
Yeah.
It was a process. You know, when Maneti took over as a head coach, he came with all the young players that he coached in the under 17, under 8, under 19, and under 20.
Yeah.
You know, you're talking about your Shaluliles and your Shitembis, you know. But the bulk came from the youth national teams. You know. So, and as it goes, players were falling out and new talent were coming up.
Yeah.
So we followed the same model as the one of '98. You know, and now you've obviously probably picked it up that will take another 10 years to qualify because of all the problems that we haven't fixed, you know, over the years, and that's actually the biggest
difference
that we have in our country. You know? And let me just put it: we have too many people in football that really that don't know about the game. You know, so being an administrator is totally different from being a coach or someone with a technical background, and that's we still need to differentiate between the two.
Yeah, and it's true. I think just because you know, there are people that know something, there are people that don't know something, and you know, I think the most they say wisdom is knowing what you don't know and knowing what you know. And I agree with you. In football, if people just played their role, we would see a lot more. You know, Ricardo Manetti's, we'll see a lot more Ronny Kanalelos playing in South Africa and Europe and beyond.
Look, football and formal education is the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't have good educators at primary level or primary, it will affect each and every stage. If your pre-primary, if the base is not laid properly, you will see it at primary. You know, there's a difference between a child that went through pre-primary and a child that never went through pre-primary. You know, so you will see it immediately. And yes, everything starts there, but the one that went through pre-primary is more exposed now to education. So they eventually fall in, everything just comes naturally there, you know. But they still have to start from grade 1 and follow the process. You know, they still have to do the same things until the other one actually catches up. You know, and it's the same. If primary school is not if the base is not there, when you get to high school or junior high, you will see that the problems. You know that the base here was not, you know. And when they get to university, it's the same thing. Because at university level, it's all about survival. You know, you've got to do your own work. You know, the lecturer just comes there and just tells you, okay, research. Here's your assignment. You know, and now you have to. It's not hand to mouth. You know, you've got to do your own work and put it on the table. You know, so if the base is not properly laid, then you will see it. Because the lecturer at university doesn't have time to teach you how to hold your pen and how fast or slow to write. No, you should come. You should come. And that's your international level in football. You know, because at international level, we don't have time to teach you the basics. You must come with the basics already laid properly, and we just maintain while we are concentrating on how to trap the monkey. That's a tactical part. You understand? So I can't be busy with teaching you how to apply the basics, and at the same time also teach you how to
tactical side.
The tactical side. Then we're wasting too much time, because in most cases international football you only have a week. You know, so so the process is the same, but people think that football you can just wake up and be a perfect player. No, you still have to go through the process. A player comes the same way a smart boy enters primary school. Yes, he's smart, but he doesn't know anything. You can be smart, but if you can't write, I guarantee you will fail all your, you know, unless we go oral, because you will be able to give me the answers. But if you have to put it on paper with your pen, with a pen, you won't be able to do it because you haven't been taught how to write. You know, so it's the same. So we need to go back and restructure, but then we need the right people in football. 100%.
And I know people say that with players a lot. It's all in the fundamentals. You see a player You see some young players in Europe popping up now everywhere, and you say, oh, but the fundamentals are good. But on the managing side of football as well, and football from the top down to the players, we need the same energy as well.
It's like a company. You know, the company has different structures in the organization system. And that's the same in football. You can't have a club with only the chairman. And the chairman is everything. You know, he's the finance guy, he's the marketing guy, he's the CEO, he's, you know, everything just... And if that guy is not available, then everything comes to a standstill, you know, so football is the same.
Now, Ronny, I think this is a question that everyone is dying to ask, maybe a bit too intimidated to ask. How do you keep in shape? You look like you are still the player from 99. What is the trick? How do you keep in shape, and why have you decided to maintain? Because we've seen footballers, you have two types of former footballers. The ones they say, I've had enough of the fitness, I've had enough of all of that. And then the other ones that say, no, we are going.
No, I think for me it's more of a lifestyle than I just make good decisions when it comes obviously on my well-being, you know, what I want to look like, and I also know that if you are not in a good shape, you know, it might cause a lot of problems for you physically in the long run. So, there are times that I really follow a strict eating plan, but there are times that I'm flexible, but I just know what to eat and what not to eat, you know, and if I really want to eat all the nice stuff, you know, then I will cut out on certain things and say, okay, you know, I mean, there is a place for
junk food and something.
And then the training, you know, it's in me, you know, it's I like to keep fit.
And also, like when you are coaching, there's no player that can come to training and not be fit, because you can't have your coach be more fit than you.
No, I'll make you fit.
The players have said, Coach Ronny will make you run. Coach Ronny running is not part of my training ways, you know, because as I said earlier, you know, if you are a welder, you need to weld all the time to perfect your craft, you know. So if you run more than playing football, then you will become a better runner than football. Yes.
You know, so for me, it's all about the 90 and 10, you know, 90-10 rule, you know, 90% more football and 10% running, you know, because in football you still run, you know, so I can make you run while playing football, or I can just work on fitness using football without the player realizing that actually I'm you know, I'm punishing him. More physically, so,
you punish them with a smile on their face. Tough love is what they call it. Now, Coach Ronny, just your last parting words to aspiring footballers, the young footballers that we are talking about that are finding it hard in this time. What word of advice would you have for them? And more specifically, young goalkeepers, because you know, when you're playing from 10 to 11 to 12 years old, everyone wants to be the striker. Everyone wants to score the goals, and I've seen some players that say, I want to be a goalkeeper, but not many people make it popular. It's been like you said, the long gap between Ronny Kanalelo and the next goalkeeper, and the next one.
Look, again, it all goes down to the structures. You know, the structures are not in place. You know, yes, you can talk about Ronny Kanalelo. I mean, he should look after the goalkeepers, but every one person cannot really look after the entire goalkeeping department. You know, and again, we put people into positions that are not really for it. You know, and the goalkeeping department, you know, if you as a coach don't know the basics, it's difficult to transfer to the players. You know, the technique itself. It's very, very important, you know. So nowadays you will also see that the players the goalkeepers are more concentrated on the distribution. You know, the famous 2 million kunde type of distribution. But if you can't catch a ball properly, when are you going to do it? You know, because you first need to be able to catch the ball and then distribute. You know, so if your distribution is better than your technique, then there's no point. Then you are not really a goalkeeper. You know, so and then you will find that. And I'm the type that always goes back to the details. You know, so I always look at the small stuff. You know, and that the details. For me, it's all about the details. If you say she is a good goalkeeper, you know, and then I see a picture of she catching a ball, and I'm like, okay, and everybody's raving about it, about this young talent or this goalkeeper that is doing so well, and then you find people that claim, you know, just because the player is there, now everybody's like, I work with him, I coached him, and then I like, okay, good, you claim to be part of his development, and okay, look at his technique here, you know. There's still a lot of work to do. I just leave it there, you know, and you should now see it and think, okay, he's talking about this. You understand? And most of the time people don't want to come out because they don't want to make it. But that's how we go, you know. So because if you catch a ball like this, your elbows are pointing to the sides. The technique is already wrong, you know. So when you catch a ball, your arms or your shoulder, your elbows should be, you know, there should be a gap. It should be aligned with your shoulder width, you know. So and it should point straight into the forward direction. So so those are the in fact it should form a 90 degree, you know. The elbow should form a 90 degree. So those are the small things that I always look at, you know, your footwork, you know, how do you move sideways and other stuff, because if your certain technical deficiencies are not in place, then it will always hamper your development, because you will hit the roof, and it will be difficult to rectify certain things at the later stage, you know. So, but and the reason I haven't really went into the goalkeeping department as such in our country is because our structures are not in place. Because I'm a type of guy that can sit there and tell you straightforward that, you know, what you are doing is absolutely nonsense. You know, but people don't want to hear that. You know, they take that personally, but that's the only way, you know, to put you at work, and you need to do a lot of research. You know, until today, you know, and most of the time, I'm still keeping myself updated to the modern game. You know? So it's a lifestyle. I'm not a part-time footballer. That's my career. You know, and that's me. If I'm into a football job, I'm 100% there. You know, when you want to have access to me, you'll find me. It's not a situation of, no, I'm busy with other stuff, and then, you know. So, and this is a problem we have in our country. The footballers are always waiting for everybody. They are waiting for your coach because your coach is at work. You know, I want to be in the morning now. The player wants to be on the training field. You know, but the coach is at work. But in the real professional setup, who is that player at that moment? Who is the coach? They are on the training field. So while our players are idling there waiting for their coaches, their players outside are working. And that's why you see in Europe, you know, and also in South Africa, players are entering the professional setup at 18, 19, 20, you know, and with our players, unfortunately not. And those are the things that we need to work on, you know, aggressively, you know, to understand what a footballer or a soccer player is all about. If we don't know that, as I always say, that if you don't know where you are going, you will end up somewhere. And when you end up somewhere, you also ask yourself, but how did I actually end up here? But in the process, what has happened along the way? And then you realize that nothing has actually happened just because we are not well structured.
So yeah, man, young footballers out there, if you are listening, words of advice from Ronny Kanalelo. Goalkeepers in particular, I've seen some bright goalkeepers come out of the national team setup, and we are seeing a lot more. I think we've seen a lot more goalkeepers now than before, and just footballers in general. The seriousness that Ronny Kanalelo has with his football post-playing career. You can't be a player and not have the same level of seriousness as a former player who takes the game to heart every single day. So the word of advice is be as serious as Ronny Kanalelo is, and be the best player you can be. Ronny, thank you so much for joining us and just giving us an insight into the mind of Ronny Kanalelo. You're truly a Namibian icon, and like we say, man, you are the number one of that 99 team. You know, these goalkeepers are really the backbone. You see the whole field. So, you know, for football fans, we know that you are a very pivotal and important member of putting Namibia on the map. And we brought you here to really just celebrate you and appreciate you as a player, as a coach, and as someone that is really involved in football for Namibian youth.
No, it's a pleasure having me here. You know, it's always good to share our experiences. You know, that's why we are here. You know, we lucky that we've been exposed, you know, to the higher levels of football, whether it's on the ground or as a player, as a coach. You know, so. It's for us it's actually a privilege to have gone that far, you know. You don't see that quite often. And
we really appreciate that, and we'll be catching up with Ronny in everything he does from here on forward. It seems it's always football, and football is really his life, and we're going to be catching up as far as all the coaching and everything goes. And if you haven't seen Ronny Kanalelo lately, he looks like the same Ronny Kanalelo you've seen, fit as ever. And that is our warm-up session. We're diving back into the kingdom, and up next it is Shatta Wale with Kimberly.